So a lot of you guys that are viewing my channel saw my collection and you guys all asked me, how is it possible to collect this many things? Like, how is it possible if I'm not super rich? And I'm not super rich. Well, I've been doing this for a very long time. So as time goes on, you just happen to accumulate more and more things. And this is how you get like a large collection like this. But it wasn't without its stumbling blocks. So this is the top 10 mistakes that you should avoid if you want to start your own collection. Let's get into it. Alright, so the first and biggest mistake that people make as they enter the hobby is not setting goals and just trying to collect everything. This is the biggest mistake you can make because most people are on a tight budget. We are not rich. We cannot buy whatever we want. So if we want to be able to collect and get that dopamine hit every time we check off a piece of the collection, we have to have a collection goal to begin with, right? Like we cannot just be, oh, I want to collect GX Ultimate Rares. Oh, I want to collect first edition LOB. I want to collect. No, set a goal for yourself that you want to check off. For example, like let's just say you have a budget of $200-300 a month and you want to buy cards with it. What you have to do is set a collection goal that's obviously realistic and focus only on that. If you start following too many branches, if you start trying to build too many binders, too many collections, it becomes impossible and it becomes overwhelming, to be honest with you. And a lot of people end up quitting because it's just too many things to be able to collect on such a tight budget. So that's the biggest thing, man. Like when I first started, I made this mistake all the time, man. Like I would literally start collecting the GX Ultimate Rares. People will start talking about the 5Ds Ghost and I'll pick up a 5Ds Ghost with the budget that I allocated towards the Ultimate Rares. And I'll be stuck like a whole month without being able to buy the Ulties to be able to check off this binder. And I have this one Ghost Rare sitting there. So don't fall too much into the hype of trends and stuff like this. Set a collection goal of things that you find nostalgic and just create a checklist and start checking those off. Don't add to that checklist or create a new checklist until you finish this one. I promise you, it'll be so rewarding when you put that last card in the binder, that last slab in the collection. You will be over the moon. So for the second mistake, this is a pretty big mistake that amateurs do, and in my opinion, I had that issue as well when I first started, and that is if I don't have the budget for the biggest item in the collection goal. So let's just say I want to collect LOB first edition. If I don't have the money for the blue eyes or the red eyes, I start settling for the super rares and checking those off. In my opinion, I think that's a big mistake. If you have a collection goal set in mind, the biggest pieces are the ones that go up in price as time goes on. The secondary pieces follow along, but it does take the first and prime movers of that set or that collection goal to be able to move first before the others do. So for example, going back to the LOB first edition set, you don't want to be picking up the Raigeki, the Man-Eater Bugs, before you have the LOB Blue Eyes, before you have the Red Eyes and the Dark Magician. Because let's just say your budget is $200, LOB Blue Eyes is like $1,000 for example. If you spend it, for example, buying a Man-Eater Bug or a Trap Hole for $200, right? You're gonna need another 5 months before you're able to pick up the Blue Eyes at a $200 a month budget. In that time, the price of the LOB Blue Eyes might go up. And because of this, it might become too expensive or it might take too long for you to be able to pick it up. This is why I say don't begin collecting the thing until you've acquired the rarest and biggest item in that collection. That way you know that you're able to pick up the smaller pieces later on. Even if they go up in price, they're not going to go up in price as much as the prime mover, the Blue Eyes, the Red Eyes, or the Dark Magician, for example, in LOB. Don't begin that quest where, for example, you're buying these super rares, you buy all 10 of them, all of a sudden the Blue Eyes after a year or two is now $2,000 or $3,000 and now it's just unaffordable. It's better to just wait out that 6-7 months while you're saving up for the Blue Eyes and hope that it doesn't go up in value, then pick that up, then you can start saving towards the others. The reason I say it's a mistake to go the other way around is because what happens all the time is people start picking up the smaller pieces, and by the time they're finished picking up all the super rares or the Exodia pieces or whatever, the Blue Eyes has already doubled in price, and this discourages them, so they end up selling the super rares and the LOB ultra rares or whatever it is that they bought, like those smaller pieces. So make sure you check off the biggest piece first, and that oftentimes, honestly, like I'll tell you something, most seasoned veterans that are in this collecting hobby, they end up having collection goals based on the biggest item that they were able to purchase from the get-go. So like a lot of people, for example, they end up finding a deal on a Phantom Darkness booster box, first edition, or a Light of Destruction first edition box, and that basically inspires them to start collecting the booster boxes because they already checked off the two most expensive ones, and they end up being known as, like, you know, the GX box guys, or the LOB first edition guys, or the faded guys, or the Asian English guys. This is usually how it happens, and this is how they organically become more vetted in that realm or in that niche in the hobby for themselves. Even if they were not really interested in getting it in the first place, they end up being so attached to it because this is where they had their first hit of success. So yeah, start with the biggest pieces first. Don't start buying the smaller stuff because you can't afford the big ones. Sit back and save. Don't waste your money and just splurge it on dumb things. Save up for that collection goal. Keep it in the back of your mind and put the money towards the bigger pieces. Then the smaller pieces will be a lot easier to acquire. The third mistake people make is overspending on one thing. If you are trying to collect something that is way over your budget, that is going to make it extremely difficult, guys. Be realistic with yourselves. If your budget is $200 a month, in my opinion, I think LOB first edition is not really something that you should be pursuing. If your budget is $200, I'll probably aim for LOB Unlimited. I'll probably aim for maybe some more modern sets, Starlight rares, pick up a Starlight rare every single month or something like that. This, in my opinion, is a little bit more realistic as a collection goal within that budget, because I mean the biggest Starlight rare is like what, $500-600. That's like a Stardust Dragon. I mean, IP Masquerena and Appaloosa are quite up there as well, but I think those will come down in time. It's not like, for example, the LOB first edition Blue Eyes, which I don't believe will come down to like a $200 price tag ever again. So yeah, don't overspend. Make sure that you're within your budget. Be reasonable and be honest with yourselves. That's the best way to go about it. The fourth mistake that I used to make is not sleeping on a big deal. If my budget is $200 and this deal is $600-700 and I just saved for 3 months and now I have that $600, I definitely will be sleeping on the deal for at least one night before I pull the trigger. This is the biggest purchase that you're gonna make because this is pretty much 3 months worth of, you know, collector budget, and you're basically spending it on the biggest piece. This is the starter, this is the prime mover, this is the thing that's going to kickstart the collection goal that you have, and you definitely want to make sure it's exactly what you want to pursue. So definitely sleep on it. Sleep on every single deal, guys, unless your budget is like $200 and you're buying like a $2 card or a $5 card where you can basically buy it and like not really worry about it. Okay, I definitely would recommend you sleep on anything that's over $50. So basically like 25% of your budget. If something's 25% of your budget, I would definitely sleep on it. Even if you miss it, it's not meant to be. Don't pull that trigger without thinking about it. I promise you guys, you will have a lot of regrets, a lot of buyer's remorse if you're buying something you don't actually want because you didn't give it enough time. So that's number 4. With number 5, I would actually go the opposite way. Now, if you are also honest with yourself and you've been looking for this thing for like a year, 2 years, and this thing finally came up and you are trying to sleep on it, then you're also making a mistake. If you are trying to buy something that is extremely rare, I definitely wouldn't sleep on it. If it's something that comes up very often, it's something for your own, you know, nostalgic pleasure, it's for your own aesthetic pleasure in the binder, then okay, give it time. But if you're trying to hunt like prize cards, if you're trying to hunt like really rare Yu-Gi-Oh! Sealed items, this is where you don't really sleep on it. This is where you pull the trigger and worry about it later, because honestly, those items don't come up very often. This is where I made the mistake. Like, I'll tell you guys, I had an LOB first edition uncut sheet come my way for $12,000, and believe it or not, I slept on it for about a week and it went right from under my nose and I've never been able to see it again. This is basically the biggest regret I've ever had in this collecting hobby, and it's due to me sleeping on it. It's something that I've been looking for a very long time. It was a lot of money at the time. Like in 2018, 2019, $12,000 was a lot more than it is today, right? And I basically slept on it and it slipped from my fingers, and I don't think I'll ever be able to afford one again. So you don't want to make that mistake on the vice versa, right? Again, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be reasonable and talk yourself through it. Is this something that I'll be able to see again? If it is, then take your time. Don't spend the money right away. Wait until you think about it. This is something that I really want. Then you pick it up. If it's something that you're not going to see, don't waste your time. Pick it up right away and worry about the money later. So it really all depends on the item and how well you're able to source it. All right, so that was number 5. Now for number 6, you've pretty much picked up some items for your collection. Now you picked up the big dogs, the blue eyes, the red eyes, and the dark magician. The biggest mistake people make now is they do not catalog what they paid for it when they paid for it. This is so important, guys. Like, you need to be able to keep track of the money that you spent, the money that you've worked very hard for. Do not go and waste it by not cataloging what you paid. Do not go and waste it by, not cataloging what you have, where some things get lost and you don't even know if you had them or you sold them or whatever. I made that mistake. A lot of my collection was not cataloged for a very long time, and it was a huge mistake because when it ended up like becoming what it is, I had to go back, look up receipts, look up eBay transactions, and it was a massive nightmare. I promise you, if you're starting out, just record it on an Excel sheet. Later on, you will thank me. You're gonna come back to this video and be like, holy, good thing I recorded that $5 card, because it does add up, guys. It really, really does. So keep that in mind. Catalog every single thing that you buy towards the hobby. Catalog the taxes, the shipping, everything that you paid, because it all will come in handy later on if you ever decide to take it further. So the next mistake that I want to cover is, all right, you've collected 10 out of the 20 holos from LOB. The high is now dying down. You collected the big ones. Now it's just the small ones left. The biggest mistake people make at this point is not sticking to it, okay? You guys have to stick to the collection goal, man. It's a goal for a reason, right? You can sell it off and finish it after you're done. You collected the whole thing. All right, now you can let it go. But before then, do not be switching targets while you're doing that. You've already spent the effort. You've already paid all this money. You already have 10 out of the 22 cards from the LOB set. Just finish it off, guys. It's like you already followed my first steps, right? You've collected the biggest stuff. Why not just grab the super rares? At least picture in your mind like a complete binder, right? 22 cards, looks gorgeous. Why not? Right? Don't stop now and switch your collection goal. Finish it out. At least you know that, hey, at one point I had a complete LOB holo set, even if you're bored of it. I mean, me personally, I don't really let things go once I've collected the whole set, because I'm just that type of guy. I'm like a hoarder like that. But if you do get bored of something while you're collecting it, in my opinion, I think you should stick it out, because at least it gives you that feeling that, hey, I accomplished what I set out to do from the very beginning. You don't want to be a quitter even when it comes to collecting. The next mistake people make is very similar to the one above it, where sometimes you just feel like, oh man, I spent so much money into this, I should just sell some stuff. I don't think that you should be selling if it's a part of your collection goal, unless you really have to, unless there's some emergency or something like that, then you can sell. But otherwise, I really don't recommend selling a collection piece until you've completed it. The main reason is because once you sell one, it starts like a trickle down effect, and everything ends up being sold, and you end up restarting from the very beginning. And a lot of people end up basically just quitting after that. They end up getting a couple $1,000s in cash, and they end up blowing it on something that is, outside of the hobby. I'm a part of this hobby. My job is to inspire you to collect like how I collected, right? I understand that, hey, sometimes you switch hobbies, that's besides the point. But let's just say that you are passionate about this hobby and you're not trying to create an exit for yourself anytime soon. What I would recommend is you stick through it, because once you start selling, you start wanting to exit the hobby. And in my opinion, if you're within your budget and you're not overspending, I don't see a reason why you should. So that's kind of like my macro look at the whole like collecting situation. Some people, they need to quit because they overspend, and those people, all right, that's fine. That's your decision. It's your prerogative. You should have taken better care of your funds. But if you're spending wisely and you're enjoying the hobby, you're part of the community, in my opinion, I don't think you should be finding ways to exit the hobby. So don't sell if you don't really need to. But also, the next tip is sell if you get an incredible offer. I think it's a big mistake when you hang on to something unless it's like super incredibly rare, like a prize card, or again, like a super rare sealed item. I think it's a mistake to not sell something. Let's just say you're collecting an LOB first edition set. You know that LP Blue Eyes is about $1,500, and you get a $2,500 offer. I think you'd be a fool if you don't take that. You can take that $2,500, put up an offer of $1,700 for the LOB Blue Eyes. Since the market price is $1,000 to $1,500, people will take you up on $1,700, and you'll be able to clear out like $800 worth of profit that you can put towards cards. So don't be afraid to take profits when you can. I highly recommend you do that. If you're in a positive financial situation, hey, take time out of your day, research these cards, watch my videos, invest in some of them, and start your own collection goal. Join us in this hobby, join us in this community, right? But if you're not in a positive financial situation and you're struggling to pay rent or whatever, you should not be buying cards, right? Like, this is the biggest mistake people make, right? You're buying assets and investments when you don't really have the money. You need to be able to build some capital so that you can have some leisure spending on hobbies like this one. Again, be honest with yourself and tell yourself the truth. Nobody else can do it for you. But that's pretty much it from me. I welcome all of you guys who are just starting out on this collecting journey. Collect whatever you like and what brings you passion and nostalgic joy. And if you're already a part of this collecting journey, I hope these tips helped you out as well. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe. Comment down below if you think I missed any tips and tricks for beginner collectors. And if you want to support me further, I have a Patreon where you can get weekly market watches for only $2 a month, or you can use strictlysealedinc to shop for your TCG accessories. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.